everyone, welcome back. Today's video is a highly requested review of the new IT Cosmetics CC Plus Oil-Free Matte. This is a new foundation that's going to be launching at Sephora on July 27th, and I never thought in a million years I would be excited about a matte foundation launch because I have really dry skin. But this one is a little bit different because as much as I love the original CC cream 3 months out of the year, in the summertime, it's just too hydrating and too emollient for me, and it ends up giving me this sort of sticky, tacky finish that I don't like. So I usually don't reach for it in the summertime. So when I saw that they were coming out with a matte version, I was excited because I felt like maybe it won't be as matte as some other matte foundations. It'll still have a little bit of that hydration because it is still supposed to be like a moisturizer foundation combo. So let me get into some of the details about it, and then I'll talk about how it's been wearing for me over the past week that I've had it. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. Alright, so first let's talk shade range. This one is going to come in 12 different shades, just like the Bye Bye foundation, and the original CC cream is going to go from 7 shades to 12 as well. So they're all going to have 12 shades, which isn't a lot in this day and age. I feel like companies are really stepping it up and coming out with 30 shades or 40 shades, but it's a start at least. And I will say that I am happy that they made a fair light shade because I'm somewhere in between the fair and the light shade in the original. So I think the fair light is going to be perfect for me. They actually sent me the light shade, which is what I've been using in the original, and it's just a slight bit too dark for me, but when I blend it out and blend it down my neck, it's okay. But I'm really excited to try out the fair light shade because I think it's going to be a little bit of a better match. So anyway, let me read you the description on the Sephora website because it's already there, it's just not available for purchase yet. So it says, developed with plastic surgeons, your skin but better CC Plus cream oil-free matte delivers color-correcting full coverage, anti-aging skincare, and SPF 40 broad-spectrum physical sunscreen, all with a poreless, natural-looking matte finish that lasts. This multitasking, complexion-perfecting breakthrough instantly camouflages skin imperfections, including dark spots, without creasing or cracking, and is clinically tested to reduce shine and control oil for up to 12 hours. It's infused with charcoal to detoxify, colloidal clay to absorb oil, and tea tree extract to combat blemishes, plus an advanced anti-aging serum made of hydrolyzed collagen, peptides, niacin, hyaluronic acid, vitamins, and antioxidants. You will see powerful results instantly and more dramatic results over time. So one thing that I wanted to mention is the SPF. In the original, it has SPF 50, and this new version has SPF 40. This particular formulation worked best with a slightly lower SPF. So it was something to do with the feel of the product or maybe the texture that it had with more SPF, so they did have to lower it a little bit, but SPF 40 is still pretty good protection, and it's also a natural sunscreen versus a chemical one. So if you're not a fan of chemical sunscreens, then this is a great option for you. So I've been playing with this for the last week or so, and as I said, the original is way too emollient for me in the summertime, so I tend to stay away from it. So what I did was, the first time I applied this, I did so with no primer underneath, which is how I wear the original because I wanted to see how it wore. When I first started to apply it, it felt pretty much exactly like the original. It felt very creamy. It didn't have a dry texture at all, but the first thing I noticed instantly is as soon as I started to apply it, it dried down right away. After I had applied it to one side of my face, I went to do the other side, and I noticed that the first side was already dry as I was working on the second side. So it definitely dries down much faster than the original, which I loved. I was super excited about it. Then I went outside and I snapped a photo because in natural lighting, you can always tell what a foundation really looks like on your skin. The inside lighting is a little bit more forgiving. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a photo of what that looked like close up. And you can see just looking at my cheek area that my skin looks very dry. There's dehydration lines going on. It doesn't look plumped. And I think that's probably those certain ingredients in the formula like the clay and the charcoal and the tea tree that are just sort of sucking the moisture right out of my skin, which is something that I don't want. I don't really have a lot of oil in my skin to begin with, so the last thing I want is something to absorb all of that oil or whatever's actually there. So the one thing I will say though is that it did not cake on me. It looked very smooth on my skin, and I did feel like, unlike the original, it didn't look like it was sitting on top of my skin. It sank in very nicely, which I really, really liked about it. So I didn't want to give up on it because there were so many good things about it. And when you're older like I am, I'm 40 years old, I have fine lines, and that just makes them more apparent. If your skin looks dry, your lines start to show more. So you really want to look a little bit more plumped up. So the next day I decided to try layering it over a really hydrating primer. So I reached for the Smashbox Primerizer, which is the most hydrating primer that I own currently. So I put it over that, and then I went outside and I took another picture, and unfortunately the same exact thing happened. The primer really didn't seem to solve the problem at all. Again, it did go on very smoothly. It didn't stick to any dry patches or look cakey or patchy. It was just that it made my skin look overly dry. But I still didn't want to give up on it, so the next day I went ahead and added a drop of the Urban Decay Drop Shot Mix-In Oil. And you could use any facial oil for this, that's just the one that I happen to use. And that actually made a difference. So you'll see in this photo here that my skin doesn't have that dehydrated look at all. It looks very smooth, it looks a lot more plumped up, and I actually love the way that my skin looked that day. The only thing I will say though is that adding the drop in of oil did make it feel a little bit sticky again, like the original, which isn't exactly what I'm looking for on a really humid day. But at the same time too, it still had that quality that I liked, where it seemed to sink into my skin rather than just laying on top like the original does. So it was still an improvement. So then the fourth day, I decided to try another experiment, and I mixed in a little bit of the new Kokie Cosmetics Transfer Mix Dewy Foundation Mixer. So this isn't quite as greasy as an oil. It's a little bit more of like a cream that you can mix into the foundation to just help it be not so dry. And this was probably the best result yet. Just like the day before with the oil, my skin looked really smooth. I didn't have dehydration lines. My fine lines weren't as noticeable. I think it looked great overall. So I think I was the happiest on this particular day with the way that my skin looked. It was awesome. And another great thing about the Kokie mixer that I love is that it didn't make my skin feel sticky. So it felt a little bit more moisturized than just the matte foundation by itself, but it wasn't like too much in either direction. I felt like it was just the perfect amount of moisture, yet it still dried down pretty well. So that was my favorite out of all the methods that I tried, but I still wanted to try one more today before I did the review. So as I was doing my makeup, this was actually suggested to me by one of my viewers, which was to mix half and half the original version with the matte version, and I thought that's actually a really good idea if you have the original on hand already. So I'm going to cut to a clip of me applying it that way, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a wear test and then come back and give you guys my final thoughts. So let's take a look at that clip from this morning. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix 1 pump of the original with 1 pump of the new matte formula, and then just mix the two together and apply them and see how this goes. Alright, so far this actually feels really nice. It doesn't feel quite as dry as the matte version by itself, but I can definitely, like this side already is drying down much faster than it would have if it was just the original CC by itself, which definitely feels like a little on the stickier side, a little bit more emollient. So this might be a really good idea if you have the original already on hand and you don't wear it in the summer because it's too sticky. If you want to get the matte one and just mix them together, it might be like the perfect option. And I also think they both give about the same amount of coverage, so it's not like you're mixing something lighter into something that has more coverage. I think they're both pretty much the same. Although one does have a little bit less SPF, so I don't really know what number you're getting. If you're mixing 40 with 50, does it make 45? I don't know how that works. All right, so let me just check and make sure everything is blended out. It's so hard to tell just looking in the viewfinder of the camera. Okay, looks good. So basically my thoughts already is that this is feeling a little bit less greasy than the original on its own, but it's not completely drying down like just the matte did on its own. So it feels like just slightly tacky, but not too bad. So maybe this is going to be the perfect blend of the two. We'll see. I'm going to go outside. First of all, I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup, then I'll go outside and take a photo like I've done with all the other ones and see if it just looks dry on my cheek area or not. And then I'll go throughout the day and do a check-in at the end and let you know how this method worked. So I will see you guys in a little bit. All right, I'm back. It's been about 8 hours since I applied the mixture of the regular CC cream with the matte, and I'm really happy with it. I think it actually lasts longer than it would have if I applied the regular CC cream by itself, because usually at this point that's already breaking up by now and sliding off my face a little bit, at least in the summertime. So I'm very, very happy with this mixture. I'll put up a picture so you can see what it looks like, and the close-up on my skin, you can see that it's definitely not showing those dehydration lines. It doesn't look dry at all. My skin actually looks very smooth with this mix. So overall, I would say that if you have oily to normal skin, I think you are really going to enjoy this foundation as it is. If you have drier or more mature skin like I do, you are going to have to play around with it a little bit probably just to see how it looks best on you. But I wouldn't say that it's not worth purchasing if you have dry skin, because if you're like me and the regular CC cream is way too emollient for you in the summertime, you might really enjoy this. It just takes, like I said, a little bit of something extra to get it to be perfect. So if that means mixing it with your CC cream that you have already, that's a great option. If you already have that one sitting around, I wouldn't recommend going out and purchasing the regular and the matte together, because it would be way too expensive at $38 a tube. But just if you already have it, it makes sense to just mix the two together. And that way you'll have the perfect sort of semi-matte, like satin foundation for the summertime. And also, if you don't have the original but you do have dry skin and you want to try the matte version, you could always put, like I did, a drop or two of oil, mix it in, or get the Kokie foundation mixer, which is only $7, I think. So definitely worth trying that out as well. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I loved testing out this foundation, and I'm really, really happy that they came out with it, because I think it's a great alternative to the traditional CC cream for oily skin types, and also for those of us who felt like the original was too sticky and greasy in the summertime. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments below if you are excited to try this new matte version. I can't wait for it to come out and have all of you guys try it and hear your thoughts. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.